Okay, hello everyone and welcome back to Injustice 2. In this Injustice 2 video, I'm going to be going over what I think are currently the top 4 worst character traits in the game. Now the reason this list is going to be top 4 is because these are the only 4 characters I think that have terrible traits. I know 4 is not like a good list number, but it's what we have. I genuinely think that most of the traits in this game are very good, very practical. They even adjusted some of the terrible ones from Injustice 1 like Harley Quinn's to be more useful. Unfortunately, these 4 characters got the short end of the stick and are left with some terrible character traits. So in this video I'm gonna go over why they're pretty bad and also maybe talk about some ways that I think they can be improved. The first character, as you can probably tell, is Blue Beetle. Now, to be honest, I think Blue Beetle overall currently in the game is probably the worst character. He just has very little going for him. And that very little includes the fact that he has probably one of the most useless traits in the game, this blade stance. Why is it useless? Well, the main fact is that it locks you out of probably the last good remaining tool Blue Beetle has, which is his projectile. This thing deals decent damage. It's very fast, you can have more than one on the screen at the same time, you can do it from the air, you can have it be an overhead, you can fly around, this is a mid. The projectile, the Cheerio, is really good, and as soon as you go into blade stance, it's gone. And what do you get in return? Honestly, not much. You get some increased range on his normals, like for example, as you can see, this hits. The other thing you get is this change to his back forward 3, this move. This is the only move in blade stance that actually does more damage. And that's the other weird thing. You're giving up your projectile. You're basically forcing yourself to go in. And you know what? Unless you end in this move, you don't even get increased damage. Let me just show you. 219. And 219. The other thing it does is it does kind of make his jump 3 better. It is kind of ambiguous on block, so there's that. However, the trade-off for losing out on this is just too great, especially since you do not actually get a damage increase. Like, this is so obvious. Wouldn't you think that getting these blades on your arm would increase your overall damage? Speaking of overall damage, the way I think this trait could be improved is that any move that actually uses the blade in the stance, so like 1-1-1, 4-2, all these moves would deal increased damage. Not the ones that use his feet, like this string, the middle hit, which is his kick, would still deal the normal amount of damage so that the scaling wouldn't be too high. However, any move that uses the blade would deal increased damage. Overall, unfortunately, Blue Beetle, on top of all his other problems, is stuck with this trait. Okay, the next character we're gonna be talking about is probably the character that, out of these 4 characters, is probably the least shitty character trait. This is of course Firestorm. If you don't know, Firestorm has this very slowly charging bar for his character power, and he can activate it at any point. So this is level 1, and this gives him HP and a little bit more damage. Level 2 gives him even more HP increase. I think he gains even more damage. And level 3, he turns blue and he can actually launch like from this move, and a lot of his moves are better. He gains HP back. So you would think that with all this trait would be actually pretty solid. However, there is a little problem with it. Well, actually a big problem with it. It takes simply too long for this thing to charge. With the way Injustice 2 is, how fast-paced the game is, you can literally have games where you won't even get this trait. I've had games with Firestorm and against Firestorm where I just didn't even get the trait. It is just simply too long. And level 3 is what you want to go for. Like, objectively, level 3 is the most useful version of this trait. And again, it just simply takes too long for this to charge. Not to mention that once it is actually charged, it drains very quickly. Again, it is very, very useful. However, for the amount of time it takes for it to charge, it is very quick draining. Like, literally, you could have it, you finally have it charged, you activate it, and your opponent gets like some big juggle combo on you, and half of your trait is gone. So managing it is very difficult. And you could go for, you know, you activate the trait and you go for some zoning, but then you lose out on the best part of the trait, which is, if I go to practice option and set it to level 3, which is that he has a bunch of mix-up options. This is the only way Firestorm can actually get a 50-50 mix-up. So, how do I think this trait could be improved? Well, I think the charging time needs to be reduced. However, if we just left the trait as is and increased the charging time, it would be way too overpowered. So I think what it should be, its effects should be reduced just a little bit, not by much. I think he should still have access to the launches. However, maybe you could have a system where level 1 gains him HP, level 2 increases his damage, and level 3 gets the juggles from his moves. Not all three at the same time. I think that would be one way where you would actually have some tactical options, you know. Like, if you're low on HP, you could pop level 1 to get some HP back. If you want more damage, you can activate at level 2. And if you want mix-ups, you can wait until stage 3 charges up. Next up, we have a pretty underused character. An underused character stuck with a pretty bad trait, and that is the Joker. Now, I've seen many people who don't even know what the Joker's trait does because it is so underused. Well, basically what it does is it increases his dash speed to ridiculous speeds. Like, what the fuck is this? Are you guys actually seeing this? Are they serious? It looks like the fucking Flash. Now, this trait, there's one simple problem with it. The simple fact is, this doesn't help at all. Like, the thing about the Joker is that he's a very set play heavy character. You are supposed to get in your opponent's face and excuse the play. I don't know how to play the Joker, but you do something like this, do a bounce cancel, and you go into knockdown into the teeth, and you do a hard to blockable and just reset. Now, with that in mind, this trait doesn't really fit anywhere into Joker's gameplay. The idea, I think, would be to allow him easier access when he's full screen. However, like, dashing in is very easy to blow up. Like, you could do a meter burn, and by the way, meter burn rolls become very difficult to do when you have the trait active. Like, if you want to get in from full screen, dashing sure helps, but if you're against a death shot, your better option is to like slowly advance in instead of dashing, or you could do a meter burn roll. So the whole kind of concept doesn't fit into Joker's gameplay, which is again weird. The reason I talk about this is because Harley Quinn also had a bad trait in Injustice 1, and they actually fixed that. They gave her a very good trait. So I'm kind of surprised that they kind of just like didn't give a fuck with Joker and just kind of left him alone. Again, this trait maybe would be good on a different character, but on the Joker, who is so like specific in terms of his gameplay, it's not that good. And finally, last but not least, we have Wonder Woman. Now, she's probably the most famous out of these terrible trait characters. When people talk about bad traits, usually Wonder Woman gets mentioned. However, her trait, and I've mentioned this when I was doing my kind of in the lab video with Wonder Woman, her trait is incredibly difficult to balance because objectively, the things she gets from her trait are very good. She can get increased damage, increased speed and an air dash, increased damage to her lasso attacks. She has a shield one. She has one where she takes less damage, and one useless one where her parry becomes better. I think this is the one. Now again, objectively, these effects are very good. The problem is they are completely random. And there is a few, for example the air dash and the damage reduction, which completely outclass some of the other ones. Like, who the fuck wants this buff to her arm bracelets? No one. Honestly, who the hell wants yeah, this is her damage increase. Who the hell wants the shield damage increase? That's the problem. She has like 8 of them, and out of those 8, probably 3 or 4 are completely worthless. So, a lot of people came up with the idea to make her trait selectable. The problem is that if you make it selectable, it's gonna be even more kind of, not linear, but people would go for basically 2 or 3 options. This, the air dash, the damage increase, and probably the damage reduction. So again, if it were selectable, some of the other effects would be even less used. I honestly think the best way to balance Wonder Woman, and this is just like an opinion, because this is actually another one where I don't know. Like, I don't know what the best way would be to balance this. I think it's to take away the most useless ones, like the lasso, the shield. Leave the remaining 4, like the Hail Hermes, which is the air dash, the damage increase, and the damage reduction. Have those 3, and do make it selectable. However, make the tick down, like the time it's active, less, and make the cooldown longer, because this move actually has very little cooldown. You can pretty quickly use up one of these traits. As you can see, it lasts a long time. You can pretty quickly use it up, and you see how fast it charges. Maybe it should be reversed, or maybe not reversed, but have like kind of a balance where you could have the air dash, which the air dash is one of the things that Wonder Woman really lacks, and it's one of the things that makes it difficult for her to get in. You can activate it, however you have to be smart with it because it runs out very quickly, and if you screw it up, you're stuck full screen and you have to wait a long time until it becomes active again. I think with that, she on a whole as a character could be improved quite a bit. But again, this is just my idea. I'm not saying that I'm right. However, it would be very good because Wonder Woman definitely needs it. So what do you guys think about these traits? Do you play any of these characters, and have you found kind of reliable ways to use these traits? I honestly would love to know what you think. If you do enjoy this video, make sure to like it, subscribe if you haven't already, because there is more Injustice 2 content coming, as well as Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite when it comes out. Just gonna be sticking to fighting games, just like I've done so far. But there's more Injustice 2 on the way as well. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.